From the author of Spinsterella, the strange and unusual romance and spellbound, a darker shade of black comes the legendary Magneto. Pick up the conclusions of the Spinsterella trilogy in paperback and e-readers this Halloween. Oftentimes, many women in the goth subculture complain about creepers. And when they're complaining about creepers, they're not talking about the very popular shoes in the goth subculture that come from the UK. No, when they're talking about creepers, they're talking about these weird guys who oftentimes go to goth bars, goth clubs, and music festivals looking to pick up goth women. And when many people talk about these creepers, what they're actually talking about is what we call in the manosphere a simp. What is a simp? A simp is a guy who places himself in a submissive position in order to get the attention and approval of women that he likes. And when it comes down to your simp, in almost all the cases, many of these guys often lack social skills and they just can't read social cues. So they don't know that when they are approaching a woman who is in the goth subculture, they are creeping her out with their behavior. Now, when it comes down to these simps in most cases, these guys have, again, very poor social skills. Moreover, they see the world through rose-colored glasses. And because these guys see the world through rose-colored glasses, they often have a distorted picture of what women in the goth subculture are like. Now, when it comes down to this distorted picture of women in the goth subculture, it's a fantasy. And in most cases, when it comes down to your simps and your creepers, it's a sexual fantasy. Now, many of these simps and creepers believe that because a woman in the goth subculture is participating in an alternative lifestyle, she is oftentimes easier to have sex with and to get opportunities to have sex with. So he's often going to these bars and these clubs and these music festivals hoping to not to enjoy the music or to enjoy the company of people. He's going there hoping to get an easy opportunity at having sex with a woman who is participating in an alternative lifestyle. And that's what's so creepy about creepers. These are the kind of guys who take someone who participates in an alternative lifestyle like the goth subculture and they condense them into some sort of stereotype that fits through their perception of the world, as distorted as it is. And in that perception of the world, they don't see a person who is goth as a woman. No, they see her as some sort of sexual fantasy, some sort of sexual fetish, or some sort of prostitute to participate in some sort of sexual fantasy that they have. This is why your creeper is nothing more than a sexual deviant and a really sick person. Now, when it comes down to your creepers, their behavior is easy to identify in any social situation. These aren't the kind of guys who take a look at a woman who is goth and keep it moving. No, these are the kind of guys who will look at a woman who's goth and stare at her. And when they stare at a woman, their eyes will be all over them. If you ever run into these kind of guys and you see them staring at you, get away from them as fast as you can. Because if this guy is making you feel uncomfortable, do not hesitate to get away from this kind of guy. Because when it comes down to your creepers, these guys have very little control over their emotions. And if your instincts are telling you something is wrong with this guy, don't hesitate to get away from them. And in some cases, if you really feel uncomfortable about this guy in a bar or a club or at a music festival, go ahead and alert someone from management or security, because the way this guy's behaving is really dangerous. Now, when it comes down to some of these creepers, their behavior will go beyond looks. Some of these guys will actually muster up the courage to go and approach a woman who is goth. And when they approach women who are goth, they oftentimes express their poor social skills. Now, introversion is a big problem in the goth subculture, and sometimes people will misperceive introversion, but the creeper's behavior pretty much shows itself in every case when there's a social interaction when it comes down to these guys. Because when it comes down to the creepers, the way they talk to women in the subculture is they don't talk to them as a person, and they don't talk to them as related to topics in the subculture. You won't hear these guys usually talking about the music or talking about movies or things that are related to the subculture. No, this guy, everything he'll be talking about will be related to relationships or dating or trying to get a phone number to arrange some sort of um, date or something like that. Everything with him will always be related to some sort of trying to set up some sort of interaction later on, because he really wants to get a woman to be involved with him in some sort of um, fantasy. He doesn't want anything related to reality. And when it comes down to these guys have really, again, those poor social skills, and they don't really understand social cues. These are the kind of guys who will walk up to an alternative woman and he'll be sitting there trying to talk to her, and he won't hear her say something like, my boyfriend. And when a woman says that she has a boyfriend, she is clearly setting a boundary between herself and the man she's interacting with in the conversation. She's letting him know right there that she is not interested in any sort of relationship. And I've also seen this with women in the goth subculture when they talk about their husband. When they say husband, that again sets a boundary right there that lets people know that they are here and they want to have friends with people. They're not looking for any sort of romantic relationship or looking for any sort of interaction like that. Now, your creepers and your simps, they don't understand those social cues, and they will still continue to try to press, hoping to get some sort of date or some sort of attention. And again, this guy is someone, because he's so dense, sometimes you have to check him really hard. And sometimes these guys, after being checked hard and told that you're not interested, they'll move on. But some of them will really continue to persist. And again, go ahead and contact someone if you're in an event at it's like a bouncer or security to deal with this guy, because that's the only way some of these guys are actually going to get it. Some of them actually need law enforcement to come to tell them to leave somebody alone, because again, these guys, they have poor social skills and they just don't understand boundaries. They're so desperate to get the attention of the woman that they're fantasizing with that they don't see the reality that they're really creeping people out and they're making people really feel uncomfortable in their presence. Sometimes they need that hard check from law enforcement or security to let them know they have overstepped the boundaries related to social boundaries, and to get them to snap back to reality and understand that a woman is not interested. Now, the big problem when it comes down to these creepers is that they don't understand that women in the goth subculture are people, and people deserve to be treated with respect whether they participate in a traditional lifestyle or an alternative lifestyle. And when it comes down to people in alternative lifestyles, they are not fantasies, they are not fetishes, they are people just like you and me, and they deserve to be treated with the same dignity and respect as anyone else out here. And in any social interaction, they deserve to have their personal space like everyone else. No, they should not feel uncomfortable and be stared at. I mean, yes, their appearance is different, but all you have to do is, again, treat them with the same respect that you would treat anyone else with. And this is something that your simps and your creepers don't understand, and it's something that I wish more people would understand, because there are a lot of great people in the goth subculture. There are a lot of really friendly people and a lot of kind people, and I hate to see them having to deal with people like these creepers. And one of the reasons why I made this video is because I wanted to bring some of the knowledge that I had from that I've done with my men's issues blogs and my men's issues videos to the goth subculture, and help people in the goth subculture learn what they can do to deal with these kind of guys, and to learn a bit more about their dysfunctional behavior. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my goth fiction, you may do so by going to Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.